What's up, everybody, and welcome to Enjoying the Review. I'm your host, Incomparable Zach Jones, and on tonight's show, I will be doing a spoiler review of episode 3 of The Penguin entitled Bliss. Real quick, my non-spoiler impressions of the show is I'm still really liking the show. I think it's really strong. The standouts are both Colin Farrell and Cristin Milioti, who I think is great. This episode is kind of framed around the POV character of Victor, and I think that actor also is doing a great job. Overall, I would probably still be rating the show at about like an 8 out of 10. Pretty strong. I'm still really enjoying the show, which it's refreshing. But yeah, without further ado, guys, let's get into spoilers and let's talk about the episode. So this episode, like I said, is framed around Victor, so it starts off with him. And he meets up with his girlfriend while carrying a package, and they kind of, mislead us here at the beginning of the episode because, you know, they, I think they want to, um, maybe make us think that he's carrying a package for the penguin. That doesn't end up being the case. So he actually is bringing that package to his dad, and his dad is a mechanic, and apparently he got him some like parts or something, car parts. On the TV, it says that Mayor Real is ahead in the mayor race, and is like projected to win or something. I guess this should have been my tip off that this episode started off in the past because in the Batman movie, she does become mayor. But for some reason, like my brain just didn't click with that immediately. Um, Victor and his sister try to convince their dad that his boss is underpaying him, but he says they have more than enough. So uh, their dad just seems like very happy and content with what he has. But they're both kind of like, telling him, no, you do deserve more for the work you're doing. Victor's dad mentions that he does not like him hanging out with Calvin because he suspects him of being a drug dealer. And Victor basically tells him, no, Calvin doesn't deal drugs. It's his cousin Squid. Um, so apparently, Victor, he's going to go up on the rooftops and watch the mayor's fireworks with his friends and his girlfriend. So he goes there, and Calvin's cousin Squid ends up showing up. And so Victor, you can tell that Victor and his girlfriend especially don't like this Squid guy. So they kind of go to the edge of the roof alone with each other and talk. Um, so they're watching the fireworks, but then all of a sudden, at the same time, the bombs start going off, and tells me, oh, okay, I know where we are now. This is when the Riddler blew up the seawalls, and so sure enough, bomb goes off pretty close to them. The seawall breaks, and it ends up flooding his apartment. And he tries to warn his family, but there's no time, and so they just end up drowning. So we now know that he has a tragic backstory. This made me think though, like I remember like when Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, they talked about how the levees broke, and that like I guess New Orleans is technically under sea level, so that's why it flooded so bad. But I'm just wondering, are there like a bunch of cities in a precarious position like this where they have like, you know, protective walls, but like if they were to go down, like the city would just be horrifically flooded? Because that seems like a very precarious situation to put yourself in. But I mean, I guess technically, I grew up in a small town where like we had a huge dam, and so if that thing like ever went down, like we would have totally been flooded. So I guess there's like places where that's the case, but like it seems like you really have to have intent to build a city, that close to where like the walls coming down would like spell doom for the city. Um, okay, so now we move to the present day. Victor is in Oswald's apartment. Oswald tells him that Sophia's going to come by and that he's going to drive them somewhere. He says that Sophia is going to lead him to a gold mine. Victor asks, "So, like, are you and Sophia partners now?" And Oswald says, "Yes, temporarily." But Oswald says, "Eventually, Luca will take care of Sophia when he learns that she's not playing nice. But by then, Penguin will be in control of the whole drug trade." So he's got his plan all lined out. So Sophia shows up, but at the same time, Oswald gets a call from either Sal Maroni or Maroni's people. And, obviously he cannot get caught by Sophia talking to the Maroni, so he tells Victor to distract her. So Victor tries to distract her with, small talk. She asks how he met Oswald, and so he lies. He makes up the story that he did some mechanic work for Oswald, and then Oswald hired him on to be his driver. She tells Victor that that's a coincidence because Oswald used to be her driver, and she's very much about putting Oswald in his place in this episode. So Oswald comes out, and Sophia tells Victor that he can't come. He's got to stay behind. And that Oswald will drive her just like he did like 10 years ago. So again, immediately putting Oswald in his place. So they go to where the drug, this new drug that Alberto told him about is coming through. And Oswald was surprised to see that the drugs are actually taken from Arkham Asylum. So Oswald finds out that Sophia's chemists are taking the drugs from Arkham Asylum, and somehow they combine them with mushrooms, and then the sap from the mushrooms turns red, and they distill this down into this new like euphoric party drug. So Victor invites his girlfriend over to Oswald's apartment. She asks him if he's seen Calvin. Apparently Calvin disappeared. And this is something they don't resolve in this episode, so I don't know if that was just like something that'll never come back, or if maybe Calvin will play some sort of small part in a future episode. But Victor says he hasn't seen him. She tells Victor that she's moving to California because basically, Crown Point was flooded. Her school was flooded. She's like in a, FEMA operated school, and she's, tired of it. So she's going to move to California. But she tells him that he should come with her. He says he'd like to, but he doesn't think Oswald would let him go. And he basically confesses to her that Oswald's basically a gangster. He has seen some things that he shouldn't have seen, and so he doesn't think he has a choice in the matter. But she says, well, if that's the case, you definitely shouldn't be working for this guy. And she said, he says, now you sound like my dad, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So one thing I forgot to mention is earlier, like Oswald did give him like $1,000 for, and he says he's going to give him like $1,000 a week. So Victor gives her some of his money and tells her to buy him a ticket, and that he'll meet her at Gotham Station later on. So, he is planning to go with her. So now we get a scene between Johnny Vitti and Sophia, and I like this scene. I'm blanking on the actor's name that plays Johnny. He actually played in Man of Steel as like Steve Lombard, and like I think he was like in House of Cards. I've seen him in various things, and he's always very good. Johnny talks down to Sophia and gives her a plane ticket to Italy. He says that he's not scared of her and that she's a spoiled brat who got what she deserved. And then he tells her she's got 2 days to go to Italy, or he tells people that's where she went. So basically saying, hey, you either go or I'm just going to kill you and tell people, you left. So that's one thing about these mob shows is like there's always like people, family members and stuff ready to turn on each other at a moment's notice. Although I'm actually not sure if VD is a direct relation. I know Luca is her uncle. I don't know if they exactly said how Johnny figures in. So now across town, Oswald introduces Sophia to an Asian gang member, and he's an underboss. And so he's basically trying to get this guy to distribute the new drug. So he offers him a deal to sell the new drug, which Oswald nicknames Bliss. While they're talking to that guy in the car outside, Victor practices telling Oswald that he's going to leave with his girlfriend, but that he won't rat him out. But then, he's like, no, he's going to kill me. He's going to kill me. So you can tell he's very nervous about trying this. While parked, a cop pulls up behind Victor. The cop pats Victor down and finds his wad of cash in his pocket. So Victor gives the money to the cop as a bribe. And so you can kind of see this is Victor coming into his own. In the last episode, Oswald, made him get in the grave and told him, hey, kid, you got to start learning to think on your feet. And, now here's an example of him doing just that. So Oswald tells this Asian underboss that Johnny VD supports him and Sophia in order to get him to go along with the plan. Because otherwise this guy, wasn't going for it. Because he's like, you guys are planning a coup. And they're like, no. And Johnny's back in the play. So the gang member says his boss, which is, I think Mr. Zhao is his name. He's like the leader of the triads. He's going to require a phone call directly from Johnny VD in order for this to work. Sophia asks Oswald what his plan with Johnny is, and he says that she's just going to have to trust him. So now at a fancy restaurant, Victor tells Oswald about bribing the cop. And Oswald says that's the price of doing business. But he's like, proud of Victor. Victor tells Oswald about his dad. He says he was a mechanic, but in his heart, he was wanted to be a chef. Like he always enjoyed cooking. Oswald says it's not right what happened to his dad, but America is a hustle. And Oswald tells Victor that his dad would be proud of him. So at this restaurant is Tina, who is the woman, Luca's wife, that we've seen in the photographs with Johnny in the prior episodes. So he meets with her, and he says, I'm going to need a favor. You're not going to like it. And so basically what the favor is Tina allows for Oswald and Sophia to break in on her and Johnny while they're having relations in bed. Oswald tells Johnny that he's going to call the leader of the triads and tell them to back him and Sophia. Oswald tells Johnny that they should kill Luca and have Sophia take over, and then he can be with Tina all that he wants. But Johnny, he's not really going for that. Johnny tells Oswald that the family views him as a joke and that they only keep the penguin around as entertainment, really digging in to Oswald. So, of course, this enrages Oswald. He attacks Johnny, and then he throws a phone at him and tells him to make the call. We don't actually see him make the call, but presumably he does, as we'll find out later on. So at Mr. Zhao's club, Oswald has a bunch of attractive women that work for Eve, sell the drugs, and Victor is the bag man who holds the drugs, and the women, when they run out of drugs, they'll go pay whatever money they've received to Victor, and he'll give them more drugs. So while in the club, Victor gets a text from his girlfriend that says, she'll see him in a couple hours at the bus station. Oswald tells Victor that he believes in him, that he can do this. Sophia puts Oswald in his place and reminds him that the triad leader is there to see her and not her driver from 10 years ago. And, so again, putting him in his place, I think, again, she reiterates that she doesn't trust him. Also, I missed the exact dialogue, but when they were with Johnny basically told of how, Oswald benefited, and maybe had a hand to play in when Sophia went away to Arkham. So he was trying to kind of like sow some dissension between them. So Sophia meets with the triad leader, Mr. Zhao, and she tries to convince him to accept her deal by basically telling her that, hey, she hated her father just as much as Mr. Zhao did. Because I guess Falcone had cut Zhao out of everything years ago. And she also shows, look out at the floor. Look how much these kids are enjoying this drug. On the dance floor, Roxy tries to dance with Victor. But then I thought this was a little weird. They try to establish that Victor has PTSD, which I'm not saying he wouldn't. Like, seeing those bombs go off and his family dying was, a traumatic experience. But like, I think we're to believe like maybe like the sound of the like loud music or something triggered him actually seeing the explosions and stuff. And I was just like, I don't know if I really buy into that, like him having such a reaction at that moment. But I'm like, okay. But this causes him to actually accidentally drop the drugs on the floor, and Roxy kind of helps to scramble and help him pick up the drugs back off the floor. So Sophia tells the triad leader, he's basically saying, he still doesn't know if he wants to do the deal, because of her history in Arkham. She tells him that the kids need an escape, and nothing will give them an escape like bliss. And she tells him that they gave, a version of that drug to her in Arkham because it made the inmates content and submissive. So she kind of has a history of this drug, and that's what, spurred her with the idea to, make this drug in the first place, or at least have the base of this drug be, whatever she was given in Arkham. She said when they were given that drug, any pain they had just floated away and allowed them to forget where they were. So Victor goes in the bathroom to calm down, and Oswald comes in and tells him that he indeed successfully made the deal with the triads. But then at that moment, Oswald sees Victor's phone, the messages from his girlfriend, and thinks that he's planning on leaving. So Oswald tells Victor he can leave if he wants to. He's being contentious with him. He's yelling at him here, but he's like, you think you're trapped here? You can go if you want. You're not you act like I'm holding you hostage here, like you're a prisoner. That's not the case. Go, ahead if you want. But at the same time, like Oswald, he puts a gun to his head, and he's like, you could leave anytime you wanted, but you chose to stay. And he's like, you got to ask yourself why. Oswald says that Victor stayed behind because he deserves something better and he wants more than his father ever had. Victor says that his dad would be ashamed of him for what he's been doing recently with Oswald. And Oswald says it's shameful to work your whole life and have nothing to show for it. He also says there's no such thing as good or bad, right or wrong. It's just about survival. And that's definitely Oswald's, credo. So Victor angrily leaves the club and speeds away in Oswald's car. He goes to the bus station, but when he gets there, he sees his girlfriend, and he decides not to go with her. He just watches her go away. We see Oswald drinking at the bar, and it's not expressly said here, but I mean, I think we're led to believe, he's kind of depressed over Victor leaving, and that, he really has taken a shine to Victor. Oswald goes outside where Sophia is, and he tells Sophia that the triads took the deal and that they should be celebrating. But she's mad at him. So I guess I don't know if this came out in the conversation with Johnny, but it sounds like Oswald basically played a part in notifying Falcone of Sophia's. I don't know if it was her actions, as the quote unquote hangman, or whatever she was doing back in the day. Look, I screwed you over years ago. But I didn't think Falcone would send you to Arkham. And he says it was worth it. All the stuff he got, he got to be the head of that drops plant and a better position within the family and all that sort of stuff. And so he says he does not regret what he got, but he's sorry for everything that happened to Sophia. Sophia says she doesn't know how to trust Oswald going forward, and he says he will keep showing her how, which is ironic given what's going to happen here in a minute. So the Maronis show up, the actress from The Expanse. I'm not sure what her name is, and some of her guys. And they hold Oswald and Sophia at gunpoint, and they're basically going to kill them. So Victor shows up, and he sees, they got Oswald and Sophia on their knees down the ground, guns pointed at him. Looks like they're going to kill him. And so he runs over one of Maroni's men, and this allows Oswald time to get in the car and escape with him. And Victor's like, what about Sophia? And Oswald's like, leave her. And they speed off. And so that's the end of the episode. Now, this is my guess. I could be, completely wrong. But I got a feeling the next episode is going to start with Oswald realizing, dang it, I have to go back for her. Like, I still need her at this point. And so I think he's going to have Victor turn the car around, and he's going to go back and save her. Either that, or like maybe instead of killing her, the Maronis, abduct her, and Oswald ends up making some sort of deal to get her back. It'll be, I think, one of those options. Although the fact that he sped off in the first place, I don't know if that, really gives Sophia a bunch of confidence that she can now trust him no matter what he does, in the next episode to save her and make up for it. But yeah, that was it. Like I said, this show, I continue to enjoy it. I really like Cristin Milioti and the Sophia character. Just the fact that she's not seemingly, not easy to dupe. She constantly calls Oswald out on his BS, and and just the fact that they keep getting him in these situations where he's, throws him for a curveball, and he's got to weasel his way out of it. It's just entertaining. And then you got this kid that's along for the ride that gets caught up in all of it. So yeah, guys, let me know in the comments below what did you think of this episode. If you will, as always, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can also subscribe in audio form on your podcast catcher of choice. Thumbs up, positive reviews, all that good stuff. If you like, you can follow me over on Twitter/X at Zach Jones Live. That's ZachJonesLive. But until next time, guys, I hope you're enjoying the review. Bye, guys.